Welcome to the Omnisports podcast. Featuring your host, Bobby Labita.
Hello and welcome in everyone to another episode of the Omnisports podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Labita, back for week, I think it's 30 action? I don't know, something like that. But we're going to start this pod by me compromising on my integrity. But it's for the greater good, and that greater good is you. I realize that once again, my attempts at giveaways have failed, but nevertheless, I will make this easy. From week one, the giveaway, the Anthony Davis, first person in YouTube to write the secret word, which was penultimate, will win it. Yes, that's true. But no, the deal gets better. Last week, when I had another secret word giveaway, I was just going to give it to the first person who guessed. But no one guessed. And so I still have this Jokic dunk poster, which I know one of you would love to have. So guess any word last week on the YouTube channel, and you will be victorious. And this week, previewing something we're going to talk about later, but we got Luka Doncic shooting a 3 over Rudy Gobert, screaming, "You can't guard me." And later, on our brand new sort of ticker thing that we got going, if you're not listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, you gotta check this ticker thing out. It's so cool. But later, at some point on the pod, this ticker will give a big hint on what the secret word is for week 3. So that this time, next week, I will be announcing winners rather than collecting prints that are just gonna overwhelm me, and soon I will die. I would drown. All right, now on to our sponsors this week. And our sponsors this week are actually kind of real sponsors. If you're on YouTube, if you don't mind checking down below, we have links to all the sort of gear I use to do this podcast and gear I use to make prints. If you check any of them out, we have some affiliate links. But on to our fake sponsor of the week, or the packing our tickets, fellas, or whoever you are, because some of us are going to Cancun, because these series, even though we're only 2 or 3 games in, seem like they're done. So let's pack up and go. And speaking of done, this pod will be pretty short. I'm actually leaving to Disneyland tomorrow with my fiance, and we're going to be there for 2 days. And so this is going to be a day earlier. So when you get this, you may notice that, wait, Bobby, there's a game last night that you didn't talk about. Well, I was soaking wet on whatever the water ride is at Disneyland. I forget, but I was on it. Maybe you'll see a photo of me later, just really scared of the drop. Maybe that will be the photo for next week. That'll be Let's get on to the games.
Storylines of the week.
Here comes Tatum, drives, goes inside at Siakam, off the glass, missed it. Nembhard has it. Rick Carlisle says go. Nembhard drives into the paint, knocked away, and stolen by Holiday. Siakam trying to get him, and he fouled him with 1.1 remaining. Rick Carlisle thought there was a foul. He's upset.
First, we are going to talk about the Pacers and Celtics series. At this time of this recording, we just finished the third game of this series, but because we're kind of in the conference final times, I'm going to go through each game one by one, talk about who did well, talk about some of the stat lines, really dive deep, because we have the time, and why not? So the first game, the Pacers looked like they were going to take one away from the Celtics. They were up. They were up with a minute, and they played maybe one of the dumbest minutes of playoff basketball you ever seen. While up 3, 57 seconds left, Halliburton shoots a 3 with 20 seconds left on the clock. Okay, it's okay. Next possession, Halliburton loses the ball to no one with 27 seconds, but it's okay. They have the ball up 3 and they lose it. And the Celtics tie. We go over overtime, and the Celtics win. And the final was 133 to 128, and which was the Pacers the snatch defeat from the jaws of victory in this one. And it's kind of surprising. The Pacers, overall, I think did better. They didn't do as well on the rebounds, but they had more assists this game. They had much better field goal percentage, much better free throw percentage, much better 3-point percentage, but they had lots of turnovers, and the Pacers' problem is they foul a lot. That's how they play defense, is they foul. Halliburton had an okay game. Miles Turner had an okay game. Siakam was really the only person positive plus minus for them in this first game. And then when it comes to the Celtics, Tatum played a really good game the first game, and so did Jaylen Brown. Also, maybe the coveted unsung hero of this first game was Jrue Holiday, who had 28 points, was 4 for 4 from the free throw line, 4 of 8 from 3-point, and played over 48 minutes, and was the only one to do so. And then you go on to the second game. Maybe the Pacers can build up some momentum, and the game wasn't that far out of reach in the fourth quarter when Rick Carlisle pulled his starters in a playoff game, confusing almost everyone, even his players. Now, we didn't know at the time that Halliburton was pulled out because he had re-injured his hamstring, but it seemed like kind of a weird thing to do when the Pacers' season is on the line. And ultimately, the Celtics pull away in the fourth and win 126 to 110, which brings us to the game today, which, like I mentioned, Halliburton had re-injured his left hamstring, which was the hamstring that was hurt earlier this year that caused him to miss quite a few games in the middle of the season. And since he's come back from that injury, I don't think he's been the same player. I think he definitely took a step back because of that injury. And despite him being out, the Pacers were up 18 points in the third quarter. Could they do it at home? Make this series feel like a real series, right? You win both home games, you go back to Boston 2-2. But no, the Celtics pull it out. A clutch steal from Jrue Holiday at the end to seal it. The Celtics win 114 to 111. Nembhard played a great game. He got the final opportunity to shoot a 3 to win it, but it was not enough. In this particular game, Nembhard scored 32 points and was pretty efficient on those 32 points and really stepped up in Tyrese Halliburton's absence. But unfortunately, this series is done. The Pacers may win one more at home. I think it will be a sweep. And that's that. I think the Celtics will advance to the finals. I don't think the Celtics have really been challenged in any of these series. I feel like they've had some pretty fortuitous matchups, but it's very interesting because the Celtics easily could be down 2-1 in this series if you just look at the games played, but they're up 3-0, and maybe that's a sign that they're a championship level team because they're able to find these wins when maybe they shouldn't. And honestly, sometimes their play still doesn't look that great. The fact that they're down 18 without the team that they're against stars in, but still the Celtics are a well-oiled machine. I think the signing Jrue Holiday is, a major reason Brad, Stevens wins, GM of the year, because it was a great signing on top of Kristaps, who we've not seen because he's been hurt. But I think Jrue Holiday brings a level of maturity and steadiness. I feel like he does so much beyond the box score, and he's like a guy. You need a player like him on every team that's going to win a championship. You need someone who's going to just make the right play at the right time and when his number is called, will do the right thing. And I think it's going to be a sweep. And even it's funny because the Celtics have on paper been very impressive this whole year. They had by far the most wins of any team in basketball. And even watching these series, it just feels like feels like something's missing. But even then, they're still decimating teams. So maybe that's a sign of, I think you could take that either way. It's a sign of things to come when things look like they're clicking. Right? Imagine how good they could be. Or are they just kind of falling upwards against, some of these opponents who have inconsistent and streaky play. I don't know, but it looks like your first finals team this year is coming from the East is going to be the Celtics.
Reed is jumping up in front. Doncic has the ball, down by 2.
There's the switch.
Gobert is out there. Doncic maneuvers for the lead. Got it! Got it! What a shot! Dallas has taken the lead.
Now on to the Western Conference Finals. Now, when you're hearing this recording, I will be missing Game 3. So just imagine at the end of me talking about Game 2, I see something brilliant and witty about Game 3, and maybe you look up the stats yourselves, do your own version of it, right? Like just imagine. I don't know. You find an AI website and feed my podcast into it. It could tell you what I thought about Game 3. But let's start about Game 1. The Mavericks come into Minnesota and they steal home court in a very tight game, 108-105. In this game, I think you really see the two-headed monster that is Kyrie and Luka. What they have been, I don't know if this has been intentional. It feels intentional, but generally Kyrie is kind of the lead force in the first half, which allows Luka to save his energy to be the closer, if you will. Both of the combined scored 63 points in this game. Pretty good efficiency, and really good efficiency in the Game 1 on free throws for them. And the pieces around them just look so good. You have Gafford, you have Lively, who are just easy alley-oops. Like it doesn't matter. And then they're also playing pretty good defense. You have Derrick Jones Jr., who's contributing in a lot of ways that I probably wouldn't have expected, both in like terms of energy and on defense. PJ Washington has been inconsistent this playoffs, but when he's been hot, he's been really, really good for them. And we even saw some important minutes from Jaden Hardy in this game. And what I think the big storyline in this game, if you're from Game 1, is it just kind of feels like I don't know if the Timberwolves are tired. If you look at their plus minus from Game 1, the only positive person in plus minus is Rudy Gobert. Everyone else is really kind of tanking. Karl-Anthony Towns has not looked that good this series, which we'll talk about more in Game 2. And the same with Anthony Edwards. Since Anthony Edwards in Game 6 of the Nuggets series fell awkwardly, he's not been playing well. I would not be surprised that it comes out that he hurt something or that there's some lingering issues, some bruise, something like that. He was very slow to get up when that incident happened in Game 6. In fact, when it happened, when I watched it live, I thought, oh, his season was done in the moment. But I think you see the experience of the stars from the Mavs really shine here, and like it never felt like the game was too much out of control. And like I said, really the only positive force in that first game was Rudy Gobert. But unfortunately for the Timberwolves, in Game 2, similar story that we've already heard before when Pacers were up by 18 in the third. Same thing for the Timberwolves, up 17 in the third. But does not matter as the game is winding down. The Mavs have the ball down 2, and you knew based off the defense that they had been playing that Rudy Gobert was gonna jump up in the pick and roll and guard the guy with the ball at the top of the key. And that guy was Luka, who zigged one way, zagged the other way. Rudy Gobert looked like he was on roller skates. And Luka, cold-blooded, shoots the 3 over him, screams very angrily. As we can see here, you can't guard me. He also added some expletives after that, but you can watch the clip and fill in your imagination. It was the most intense I've ever seen Luka. I think you also see Luka. Fun fact about Luka Doncic: he's a top 500 player in Overwatch in the whole world. Which, like, imagine being like one of the best people in like basketball, and then like one of the best video game players in very popular video game, but you saw there his gamer toxicity on Rudy Gobert, and it was just cool. And the post-game comments from Luka were really funny. When asked about if that's the matchup he was looking for, he said, possibly, and that, I may not move fast, but I move faster than him. And that three really, felt like, again, stick a fork in him. Maybe the series is done, as the Dallas is going to go back home with 2-0 lead. I think the thing that's notable to take away from this game, or will get lost in this game, is Naz Reid played an amazing game. He was 7 from 9 from 3, and he was 7 for 8 before he had to do the desperation last second 3 to try to win the game. And he was pretty close, and he's the guy I would have wanted to have the ball in his hand. And with him being so hot, that meant that Karl-Anthony Towns did not play many significant minutes in the fourth in this game, which is quite surprising, right? You probably would not expect that. He only played 25 minutes the total game. We're talking about a playoff game, but I think Chris Finch, rightfully so, went with the hot hand. It ended up not working in this particular game. And I think you kind of just see the Mavs, I think, are going to be, I obviously predicted them to make it through in the series. I said in 7. Does not look like this will go 7. It looks like it's going to go shorter. Maybe it'll go 5. I don't know. I think this could also be a sweep, given the fact that Dallas is coming home, and probably would want to win it on their home court. But I think it's very interesting. I thought both these series would be a little more competitive than they are. And they have been, in that the games have really been close. Of the 5 games we've talked about, only 1 has been a blowout. And honestly, that wasn't even like a blowout. That was just like the Pacers gave up in the fourth, and then the Celtics, scored, 10 more points that last half, or the last half quarter. And that what put it to a 16-point lead. So I think very likely we're going to have a Celtics Mavericks finals. Presuming that's what the finals will be, we'll do a finals preview next week's episode. But right now, that's all we're going to really talk about. In a future episode, like I said, we'll maybe break down some of the awards. We haven't had a really chance to do that, kind of think about who's going to be drafted. There's lots of stuff to talk about NBA, even when the season ends. So don't turn that dial away, even when the season's over. But yeah, we're gonna head to some concluding thoughts, and then we'll call it a day.
When Naz Reid got the final shot off and it was in the air, what were you thinking as it was traveling there?
I wasn't thinking. I almost passed out. That was looking good, too good. So.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Omnisports NBA podcast. I know this is a bit of a short one, but like I said, the fact that we're going to Disney for 2 days when I normally record put me in a bit of a pickle, but it's absolutely a-okay. You get your pod when you get your pod, and you know what? You get to, maybe your walk's a little shorter this week, and I apologize, or you got to put another podcast and listen to someone else, but it's gonna be okay. But on the real, thank you all so much for tuning in every week. I really appreciate it. Please try to figure out what those secret words are. I want to send you these gifts and these prizes. Check out those Amazon links, and check out our YouTube channel. Check out all things Omnisports in our description. And I hope you have a wonderful and beautiful day.